Master your mind, command your life. Every minor remark, every tiny obstacle. If these penetrate your armor, you're surrendering your strength. The reality is simple. The most composed individuals don't encounter fewer challenges. They've simply perfected their responses. Envision navigating existence unmoved. No excessive contemplation, no emotional explosions, merely absolute mastery. In this guide, I'll demonstrate how to condition your consciousness to behave as though nothing disturbs you, so you cease feeling imprisoned by your feelings and begin commanding them instead. Because once you acquire this capability, nothing and nobody will ever possess authority over you again. 1. Mastering the nothing disturbs me. Philosophy existence is saturated with disturbance. People's perspectives, everyday irritations, unforeseen obstacles. The universe is ruthless in its capacity to hurl diversions, judgments, and barriers in your direction. But what if I revealed that genuine fortitude emerges from perfecting the craft of detachment? Picture traversing through a tempest without wavering, without abandoning your equilibrium. This represents acting as if nothing troubles you. The secret, acquiring the skill to separate your sentiments from outside situations. When you permit external occurrences to determine your disposition, you transform into a marionette to forces beyond your dominion. But when you drill your consciousness to stay unmoved, you evolve into the architect of your destiny. The universe honors those who preserve calmness in turmoil, who don't collapse beneath strain. When you embody this philosophy, you command respect without uttering a syllable. You navigate through existence with authority, with bearing, with unshakable certainty. Consider the most impactful personalities in Chronicles. They weren't those who responded rashly to every slight, every judgment. Instead, they operated with an atmosphere of sovereignty, as if they grasped something the remainder of humanity did not. Their potency was not in their capacity to dispute or retaliate, but in their ability to remain untouched. This is the authentic force of indifference. Examine the philosophy discovered in self-dominance and achievement literature. The most commanding lesson is that cognition precedes deed. What you conceive, you materialize. If you persistently react sentimentally to the universe, you relinquish your strength. But if you nurture an unwavering mentality, the cosmos bends to your intention. Those who accomplish magnificent things in existence comprehend this doctrine. Govern the mind, and you govern your reality. 2. Emotional detachment for staying unshaken. Contemplate the most resilient individuals you recognize. They don't respond impulsively. They don't permit feelings to dictate their behaviors. They halt, they evaluate, they reply with purpose. This is not because they lack sentiments, but because they have conquered them. Emotional separation isn't about stifling emotions, it's about regulating them. Visualize this. You're in an intense disagreement, and the opposition is attempting to antagonize you. Do you respond? Do you allow their utterances to govern your feelings? Or do you grin, unaffected, recognizing their statements hold no significance unless you grant them authority? Emotional detachment is about declining to surrender your tranquility to external pressures. It's about grasping that your interior universe is sacred, inviolable. When you embrace this approach, anxiety diminishes, lucidity amplifies, and life's trials become mere riddles to decipher, not conflicts to wage. Consider the principle that cognitions shape existence. What you concentrate on, you magnetize. When you allow external circumstances to dictate your mental condition, you become a servant to situations. But when you seize control of your contemplations and sentiments, you become the designer of your own fortune. 3. Mindful indifference is a superpower. We're programmed to believe we must concern ourselves with everything: people's viewpoints, their endorsement, their verdicts. Society instructs us that our value is quantified by how extensively we invest in the contemplations and anticipations of others. But genuine liberation arrives when you acknowledge that most matters simply don't signify. The subsequent occasion you discover yourself overthinking, inquire, will this signify in 5 years? If not, release it. Most of what troubles us, criticism, transient setbacks, fleeting humiliations, becomes trivial with duration. Yet we permit them to devour our thoughts, dictate our sentiments, and dominate our actions. This is why perfecting indifference is the gateway to reclaiming your authority. Indifference doesn't signify apathy, it signifies prioritization. It signifies acknowledging that your vitality is finite and selecting to allocate it in what genuinely merits your attention. Not every conflict is worth battling. Not every perspective is worth contempt. When you cease responding to every trivial inconvenience, you reclaim sovereignty. You transition from being emotionally reactive to being tactically responsive. And that transformation alters everything. 4. Stop seeking approval. Pursuing validation is a snare. It positions your contentment in the grasp of others, rendering you dependent on their endorsement. The actuality: no one's assessment of you should overshadow your own. The instant you grant someone else the capability to define your merit, you forfeit dominion over your own existence. Authentic confidence isn't bestowed, it's constructed through self-sufficiency, through comprehending that you don't require anyone's authorization to be yourself. Reflect on the most captivating individuals you've ever encountered. They don't plead for approval, they don't diminish themselves to conform, they possess who they are, imperfections and all. And that's what renders them formidable. The requirement for validation is anchored in trepidation, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of standing isolated. But here's the veracity: the more you pursue approval, the more you forfeit your strength. You become a captive of expectations, bending and contorting yourself to accommodate molds engineered by others. And in executing so, you deceive yourself. Liberation manifests when you release the necessity to be favored by everyone. It's an illusion to conceive that universal approval is even feasible. No matter what you execute, someone will perpetually have something to articulate. Some will admire you, others will critique you, and many won't care whatsoever. So why squander your vitality attempting to satisfy everyone? 5. Handle criticism. Like a master, criticism is unavoidable, but how you manage it defines your resilience. Most individuals crumble at the initial indication of disapproval. They absorb every remark to heart, permitting it to mold their self-identity, dictate their behaviors, and diminish their determination. But why? Criticism is nothing beyond words, viewpoints, and perspectives that frequently originate from those who don't even comprehend your expedition. The reality is that criticism only possesses as much influence as you bestow it. When you respond emotionally, you permit it to dominate you. When you filter it through logic, you persist in command. The most formidable individuals don't permit criticism to destabilize them. They assess it with a transparent mind, extract what's beneficial, and discard the remainder. No superfluous emotion, no excessive reaction, just selective concentration to what genuinely matters. The crucial lesson? Filter criticism through reasoning, not sentiment. Retain what serves you, disregard what doesn't, and never permit someone's perspective to interrupt your serenity. There are two categories of criticism: constructive and destructive. Constructive criticism is precious. It assists you in advancing. Destructive criticism is designed to dismantle you down. It frequently stems from envy, insecurity, or deficiency of comprehension. These opinions are insignificant unless you commit the error of internalizing them. 6. Keep your composure under pressure. Pressure reveals individuals. Some fracture, some buckle, but the resilient, they remain unwavering. Why? Because they prepare their consciousness before the hurricane arrives. They grasp that pressure is not an aberration, it is a certainty. And when you anticipate challenges, you cease being astonished by them. The secret is to detach from the necessity for dominion. Comprehend this. Not everything will proceed according to blueprint. People will disappoint you. Obstacles will emerge. Unforeseen setbacks will manifest. But you do not respond emotionally. You reply with tactics, with composed calculation. Most individuals fracture under pressure because they resist actuality. They anticipate everything to be seamless, predictable, and within their grasp. And when existence proves otherwise, they panic, they protest, they immobilize. But those who drill themselves to embrace uncertainty, they adapt. They navigate with the chaos, not against it. 7. Letting go of what you can't control. Suffering frequently originates from attachment to outcomes, to anticipations, to matters outside our dominion. We clutch tightly to what we perceive should transpire, to how we believe existence should unfold. And when reality doesn't align with our aspirations, we experience anguish. But authentic mental fortitude resides in releasing. Envision a river. Water courses around impediments, never resisting, never combating. It does not demand that boulders relocate from its path, nor does it cease flowing when encountered with resistance. It adapts. That's how you must approach existence. Some matters will transpire regardless of how extensively you stress over them. The employment proposal that never materialized, the individual who departed, the setback you didn't foresee. You can either resist and suffer, or you can adapt and advance. The selection is perpetually yours. Releasing is not about surrendering. It is about redirecting your focus to what you can govern. Clinging to anticipations renders you fragile. It maintains you imprisoned in a cycle of frustration, replaying previous occurrences, questioning what could have been different. But when you embrace the actuality that some matters are beyond your influence, you liberate yourself from unnecessary suffering. 8. Silence is the ultimate power move. In a universe obsessed with commotion, silence is a weapon. Most individuals talk to occupy space, to acquire validation, to prove something. But the most commanding individuals, they don't speak unnecessarily. They listen, they observe, they calculate, and when they finally speak, every utterance carries significance. Silence renders people uncomfortable. It compels them to second-guess themselves, to analyze your contemplations, to ponder what you're thinking. In a dialogue, the one who articulates less possesses more sovereignty. Words reveal, but silence conceals. When you master the craft of silence, you shift authority dynamics in your favor. Most individuals are uneasy with silence. They rush to occupy it with explanations, justifications, superfluous words. But when you withhold, you compel others to reveal themselves. The more they articulate, the more they expose their contemplations, their insecurities, their intentions. Meanwhile, you remain an enigma, and in that mystery resides authority. 9. Train yourself to stay calm. No matter what your consciousness is, your battlefield, the contemplations you permit in will determine whether you triumph or falter. Every uncertainty, every apprehension, every hesitation, these are adversaries that must be vanquished. The most formidable individuals are not those who never encounter negative contemplations, but those who decline to be dominated by them. To drill an unshakable consciousness, you must construct mental customs, gratitude to counter negativity, discipline to override lethargy, detachment to eliminate suffering. Just as the physique grows more resilient through repeated resistance, the consciousness becomes resilient through daily conditioning. You cannot anticipate mental toughness to manifest in moments of crisis if you have not conditioned yourself for it. Every day, you must drill yourself to be unaffected, to halt before responding, to breathe before replying. Most individuals are servants to their sentiments, responding impulsively, acting from apprehension, surrendering to frustration. But the ones who govern their consciousness, they govern everything. 10. Mastering the art of moving in silence. Authentic authority operates in silence. It doesn't pursue attention. It doesn't require validation. It simply executes and permits the outcomes to speak for themselves. The most vocal individuals in the chamber are frequently the most feeble. They crave recognition. They announce their intentions. They pursue approval. But the most formidable, they navigate quietly, strategically, with precision. If you desire to be respected, cease announcing your blueprints. Cease explaining yourself to everyone. Just execute the labor. Just generate progress. Triumph is not constructed through utterances. It is constructed through deed. The more you articulate, the more you invite examination, skepticism, and resistance. But when you labor in silence, nobody perceives you approaching, and by the occasion they notice, it's too delayed. The most formidable individuals don't squander vitality proving themselves. They permit their triumph to execute the talking. There's a rationale why the most influential figures in Chronicles weren't the ones constantly discussing their subsequent maneuver. They grasped that authority is not in promises, it is in execution. They did not explain their vision to those who wouldn't comprehend. They simply constructed, created, and dominated in silence. If you desire to master this, develop the discipline to maintain your ambitions private. Labor relentlessly, but do not pursue applause. Permit people to ponder about your subsequent maneuver. Permit them to question how you stay so composed, so unaffected. The less they recognize, the more sovereignty you possess. Silence is not passivity. It is strategy. Now it's your turn. Apply these principles to your existence and observe the transformation.